Hey, what's up guys, Hedrimas here with another video. A few days ago, Blizzard made a post about the changes they're bringing to elemental shamans, and in this video, I'm going to go over these changes. The first change they did is they shifted some damage from Earthshock to Lightning Bolt. This doesn't really change anything in our total DPS, because if they just shift some damage, the overall DPS should be the same, but this does have some consequences. The first consequence is that our movement gets a little bit more punishing, because you can cast Earthshock on the move, but you can't cast Lightning Bolt on the move. But a good thing about this is traits or talents that work together with Lightning Bolt actually become stronger. Stuff like Stormkeeper becomes stronger, stuff like Storm Elemental becomes stronger, Totem Mastery also becomes stronger, because it gives Lightning Bolt more chance to overload, and so on and so on. Personally, I think this is a good change, because our Lightning Bolt doesn't do much damage, but our Earthshock does, so let's show you. 3800 damage. It's not that high. Okay, if it crits, it's pretty high. 3800. That's nothing. Now let's see how much damage we do when we do Earthshock. 19,100. So that's like a massive difference. So the numbers from Earthshock are gonna go down, and the numbers from Lightning Bolt are gonna go up. Now the second change they did is a change that doesn't look very special, but it's actually a pretty big change that we've been waiting for a long time. What the situation is now is if you cast Lava Burst and then you do Flame Shock, you saw my Lava Burst didn't crit, even though my Flame Shock was on the target before my Lava Burst hit. So the way they're changing it is if you cast Lava Burst first like this, and apply Flame Shock before the Lava Burst gets to the target, it will guaranteed crit. Whilst before, if you shot your Lava Burst and there was no Flame Shock on the target, the game would say, okay, there's no Flame Shock, so it doesn't crit. Now it will actually check if the target has Flame Shock when it hits instead of when you cast the Lava Burst. This is great because on pool we can open up with Lava Burst, while before we had to open up with something like Lightning Bolt and then instantly Flame Shock. But yeah, this is a very good change. Now let's get to the big changes. They changed some talents around and they removed some talents. So the first change they did is the level 15 talent Elemental Blast will always pick a different secondary stat buff when it overloads. And if you don't know what overloading is, it's your mastery. Your abilities have a chance to cast another one of those abilities. Now this change might seem small, but it's actually pretty significant, because if you cast Elemental Blast right now and it overloads, what will happen is if you get the same buff twice, then it will overwrite each other, which basically means you will only get one buff even if it overloaded. So if you now would get two mastery buffs, and you would only get one mastery buff because it overrides the other one, you would actually get, for example, a mastery and a crit buff, which is of course way more beneficial than only getting one buff. You see, it happened here. I had an overload, but I only got one haze buff. Now the next talent they did is with Master of the Elements. Casting Lava Burst increases the damage of your next nature or frostball by 20%. They are changing this talent so it also works with physical abilities, which basically means our Earthquake will now also benefit from this. So if we cast a Lava Burst, our next Earthquake will do 20% more damage. Now you would think this is actually a great change. It's a good quality of life change, yes, but it doesn't change too much, because on AoE, if you have enough targets, you will be casting Chain Lightning, and it really isn't worth to cast a Lava Burst in between just to get 20% more damage on your next Earthquake. Mainly because in the time that it takes you to cast one Lava Burst, you will already be able to cast another Earthquake, which means you do 100% more damage on Earthquake. But it can be good for 3 targets, for example, where you have Flame Shock on 3 targets and you Lava Burst in between, because then your Earthquakes will do more damage. So it is a very welcome change, and I'm glad they actually added it, because this gives the talent some more viability. The next talent they changed is Stormkeeper. What they changed about this talent is currently it charges yourself with lightning, causing your next 2 lightning bolts or chain lightnings to be instant cast and trigger an elemental overload on every target, which is pretty strong, but for lightning bolts it's not that strong. Now with the change, the lightning bolts will do 250% increased damage, which gives it insane damage. You have to combine that together with the change where your lightning bolts deal more damage and your Earthshocks deal less damage. So 250% damage on the lightning bolt that does already do more damage, plus the overload is gonna do a ton of burst damage. Now another change that this gives is, because our lightning bolt will do more damage, plus our Stormkeeper will do the 250% more damage to lightning bolts, if we use Master of the Elements and we do a Lava Burst, it's gonna do even 20% more damage. So I can see this ability doing a lot of damage, especially in PvP. It's just going to burst enemies down like crazy. Also in PvP actually, in PvE actually. On priority targets that have low HP but need to die very quickly, this can be great. Now another change they did is they removed exposed elements, where Earthshock now increases the damage of your next lightning bolt on the target by 75%. I'm kind of glad they removed it because it was actually a really boring talent, but with the changes to lightning bolt it might have actually been strong, but now we'll never find out. What they put in the place of this talent is Earthen Rage, which was on the level 90 talent row, which is gonna be really nice because I think it might actually be competitive with these other talents, but we'll have to see when the simulations come. The next talent they removed is High Voltage. What they did to take its place is actually something really good that I'm really looking forward to. It's a new talent called Call the Thunder. What this does, it increases your maximum Maelstrom by 30 and the Maelstrom cost of Earthshock and Earthquake reduced by 10. What this means is your Earthquakes will, instead of 60 Maelstrom, cost 50 Maelstrom, and your maximum Maelstrom will be 130. So a big problem we had before is if we do AoE, okay, if it overloads, we actually gain a lot of Maelstrom, but let's... Oh wait, I have the PvP talent. Okay, so if we had Stormkeeper, if we use Stormkeeper and we do this, we go up on the Maelstrom pretty damn quickly. Like, we cap out pretty quickly. But if we have an increased cap, then the overloads from our Chain Lightning won't matter as much and won't cap us, which means that we will waste less Maelstrom, plus the fact that the Earthquakes now cost less means that we can cast more Earthquakes, plus just in general, getting more Maelstrom allows us to line up Burst better. So now we can line up 2 Earthshocks on the row on a priority target if we want to, which is really great, and I really think we needed this. Now the next talent they added is a really interesting talent. It's a bit like the Survival Hunter talent, where you get a different buff depending on what procs, but in this situation we can actually choose what procs. It's called Surge of Power. What it does is when we cast an Earthshock, we enhance our next spell, and there's 4 different enhancements. The first enhancement is Flame Shock. So when we now cast Flame Shock after an Earthshock, there's no cooldown on Flame Shock, so what this means is after an Earthshock we can dot 2 targets. This one is probably one of the weaker ones since we're not really going to use this ever. The next one is Lightning Bolt, where our next 3 casts will cause an additional Mastery Overload proc, which is really great. So after you cast an Earthshock, what you could do is you could cast Stormkeeper, which gives our Lightning Bolts 250% more damage, and then cast Lightning Bolt, and then your Lightning Bolts will deal insane damage with lots of overloads. Of course, we have to see how this works out on the PTR servers, because we don't know if we can get like 3 or 4 overloads in one go. So we'll have to figure that out once the PTR comes up. Then I'll make another video showcasing all the new talents. The next one is Lava Burst. If we cast Lava Burst, it reduces the cooldown of our Fire Elemental or Storm Elemental by 6 seconds. I don't know how strong this is going to be. We're really going to have to test this out because it's not like you cast that many Earthshocks. You will cast more Earthshocks now with the new talent, but it's not like we cast that many. So basically what we're gonna have to see what the simulations tell us, what's stronger, Lightning Bolt or Lava Burst, and so on and so on. And the last one is Frost Shocks now root the target and place for 6 seconds when we use it. It's not great in PvE scenarios, so you should not really use Frost Shock after Earthshock. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, guys. My next video is going to be on the PTR when the PTR comes out, about the Elemental Shaman most likely. So if you want to see the talents, just remember to check the channel and you'll see a video where I showcase all the new talents and the change talents. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and you enjoy the content, and I'll see you in the next one.